Oh, hey there. Hey guys. This is Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. It is August 12th, 2019. It's about 12:30 where I am. It's about noon where I am. Um, I really wasn't going to make a video about Jeffrey Epstein. So many people are reporting on it. His suicide, his apparent suicide, which is a joke. I mean, we all know he was killed, but how was he killed and who was he connected to? Those are, the questions that I want to ask. I also, I think I'm going to call this video, I'm going to title this video, were neuro weapons involved in the death of Jeffrey Epstein? So I kind of wanted to just start out with this article from NPN News. Mega Group, Maxwell's, and Mossad, the spy story at the heart of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. The picture painted by the evidence is not a direct Epstein tie to a single intelligence agency. So it wasn't. So I always ask the question. I'm like, well, was Jeffrey Epstein trying to do blackmail for the CIA or the Mossad? But I think the real reality is that he had ties to both the CIA and the Mossad, because the CIA has connections to the Mossad. And then both of these intelligence agencies, the Israeli intelligence agencies and the American intelligence agencies, have connections to all these corporate ties and high political ties, right? So, so Epstein tied to a single intelligence agency, but a web linking key members of the mega group. So there's something called a mega group, and it's like corporations and intelligence agencies. I'd say it's like a tribe inside of the military-industrial complex. Politicians and officials in both the U.S. and Israel, and an organized crime network with deep business and intelligence ties in both nations. This is by Whitney Webb. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to touch on it because I just wanted to kind of, kind of just go over what a question that I think needs to be asked, right? I mean, y'all know why I'm here. Y'all know why I'm here. Nobody's going to ask, this is my main thing. It's like, there may have been a lot of moving parts in the murder of Jeffrey Epstein. It's like there was no camera in his cell. There was a report that the camera malfunctioned, but I'm looking into that, and that doesn't really have any sources or proof behind it. It was just a Twitter, a Twitter post. But what I am finding out is he was, taken off of, he was taken off of suicide watch, and then no camera captured his actual death. So what my question is, targeted individuals know that they can shoot directed energy weapons straight into somebody's heart and stop it. Or with neuro weapons, they can remote neural manipulate somebody, close up their trachea, and suffocate them to death. Now, did that maybe happen? Was Jeffrey Epstein maybe incapacitated by neuro weapons, because he had ties to the Mossad and the CIA? So if there was a trial, there's a lot of very powerful people that wanted Jeffrey Epstein dead. That's obvious. But I think the most dangerous people with the capability to actually kill him and get to people in that prison to actually help them would be the CIA and the Mossad, right? Before rich politicians. I know everybody's saying, Clinton body count and everything like that. The Clintons also have ties to the intelligence agencies, so there is that too. But I kind of what I want to do is just kind of throw in that question: were neuro weapons involved in this? Were directed energy weapons involved in the murder of Jeffrey Epstein? Now I don't have any proof. And this is theory, so I want to make that clear. Before I kind of get into this and talk about it, and I am going to kind of keep it short because my main thing is just asking the question, right? Could he have maybe had a directed energy weapon shot into his heart both times? The first time it seemed like there was stuff around his neck. I'm going to read an article in comments from an inmate who said that, he was not suicidal. and actually told other inmates that somebody was trying to kill him. Now, was somebody trying to physically kill him, or were neuro weapons being used? Were remote neuro weapons being used? And I feel like a lot of people who are not targeted individuals are going to be like, oh, you're going way into conspiracy theory. This is what people were warning about when Jeffrey Epstein died, that the conspiracy theories were going to come out. But as a targeted individual, somebody who, now I have information that's very damning to the military-industrial complexes of every country. But when I started being attacked by neuro weapons, directed energy weapons, I'm a nobody, right? I'm a little Joe Schmo Kyle. And Jeffrey Epstein had, little black book with a bunch of very influential politicians, as well as ties to the CIA and the Mossad, who were using him in blackmail ring, right? So I think the question needs to be asked, and we know that the Mossad and the CIA have access to remote neuro weapons, remote directed energy weapons. It would not be that hard for them to target Jeffrey Epstein in his jail cell, if not to kill him completely, to incapacitate him so somebody could kill him, or to close up his trachea or something like that with remote neuro weapons, and then on his trip to the hospital, finish the job, or at the hospital finish the job. So I just want to introduce those questions. Let me read a little bit of this. So this is from August 7, 2019 by Whitney Webb. As billionaire pedophile and alleged sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein sits in prison, reports have continued to surface about his reported links to intelligence, his financial ties to several companies and charitable foundations, and his friendships with the rich and powerful as well as top politicians. While part 1 and part 2 of this series, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, Too Big to Fail, have focused on the widespread nature of sexual blackmail operations in recent American history and their ties to the heights of American political power and the U.S. intelligence community, one key aspect of Epstein's own sex trafficking and blackmail operation that warrants examination is Epstein's ties to Israeli intelligence and his ties to the informal pro-Israel philanthropist faction known as the Mega Group. I've never heard of the Mega Group until I saw this article, but I do know about like Black Cube, and I know about Mossad, and I know about the CIA, and then I know about all the private contractors and subcontractors. I think the Mega Group is like a little military-industrial tribe within a bigger military-industrial complex, right? Military-industrial complexes of Israel and the military-industrial complex of America. So the Mega Group's role in the Epstein case has garnered some attention, as Epstein's main financial patron for decades, billionaire Leslie Wexner, was a co-founder of the group that unites several well-known businessmen with a penchant for pro-Israel and ethno-philanthropy, i.e. philanthropy benefiting a single ethnic or ethno-religious group. However, as this report will show, another uniting factor among megagroup members is deep ties to organized crime. Specifically the organized crime network discussed in part 1 of the series, which was largely led by notorious American mobster Meyer Lansky. By virtue of the role of many megagroup members as major political donors in both the U.S. and Israel, several of its most notable members have close ties to the governments of both countries as well as their intelligence communities. As this report and subsequent report will show, the megagroup also had close ties to two businessmen who worked for Israel's Mossad, Robert Maxwell and and Mark Rich. I think Robert Maxwell is related to Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as to top Israeli politicians, including past and present prime ministers with deep ties to Israel's intelligence community. One of those businessmen working for the Mossad, Robert Maxwell, will be discussed at length in this report. Maxwell, who was a business partner of Mega Group co-founder Charles Bronfman, and that's the Nexium guy, had ties to Nexium, or I guess his daughters, right? Aided the successful Mossad plot to plant a trapdoor in the U.S.-created software that was then sold to governments and companies throughout the world. That plot's success was largely due to the role of a close associate of then-President Ronald Reagan and an American politician close to Maxwell, who later helped aid Reagan in the cover-up of the Iran-Contra scandal. So I'm gonna put this article in the description. I just think that it's interesting. Like, before I started really looking into this, and of course we all know about Jeffrey Epstein, right? And it's just, this is a huge story right now. But I always did ask. I was like, was he running blackmail for the CIA, or was he running blackmail for the Mossad? But the CIA has ties to the Mossad. It's all kind of interconnected, this spider web kind of woven in there. And I think that would, even before the very, very rich politicians, that would be the people who would want to get rid of him, because in discovery in a court case, you might have some of his intelligence agency ties coming out. So it's a definite question to ask about that. I kind of want to go to this. I want to go to this article. This article from the International Business Times. Jeffrey Epstein death. Suicide is impossible, says former inmate. By Arthur Villasanta on 8/11/19. The crazy circumstances surrounding the suicide of child molester and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein now has to contend with a new allegation he couldn't have committed suicide. Epstein was an inmate at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, MCC, in New York City, operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. He was jailed at the MCC following his arrest on July 6 on federal charges having to do with sex trafficking of minors in Florida and New York. Epstein hung himself in his cell, which he was supposed to have shared with another inmate. He was found dead by guards at 6:30 a.m. on August 10th. An ex-con once imprisoned at the MCC told the New York Post Brad Hamilton and Bruce Golding, "There's no way that man could have killed himself. I've done too much time in those units. It's an impossibility." The informant spent several months in the 9 South Special Housing Unit for high-profile prisoners such as Epstein. He was awaiting trial at the time. He revealed the height from the floor to the ceiling is like 8 or 9 feet. There's no way for you to connect to anything. You have sheets, but they're paper level, not strong enough. Epstein, was 200 pounds. It would never happen, asserted the former inmate. So, I mean, that rules out self-suicide, obviously, but then there's the question of, did somebody come into his cell and strangle him? Did somebody give him things that he could commit suicide with? Then maybe he was being hit with neuro weapons. They were doing stuff to his brain, making him remember all the children that he killed, and all the young children that he molested, satanic rituals or whatever, making him severely psychotic, making him feel suicidal, or both that and closing off his trachea or hitting him in the chest with neuroweapons. These are real things, that have to be questioned. I think that we're going to find out, well, we're probably not going to find out because the FBI is investigating it. Me and somebody else were talking about that the other night, and it was like, oh, well, the FBI is going to, do an investigation. Bill Barr called for, saying this is unbelievable and the FBI needs to investigate it, but the FBI would just cover it up. If the CIA or the Mossad were involved in killing Jeffrey Epstein with remote neuro weapons, the FBI would just rule it out and say, oh, it was some kind of accident, or somehow. This is what I think is going to happen. I think that they're going to find out that somehow Jeffrey Epstein, while he was out of his cell, got some kind of like magical things to hang himself with. I think that's going to be the final thing that the American people, the people of the world, are going to be told about this. But we know it's not that simple. I think there's a lot of moving parts here. I think that, somebody from the CIA or the Mossad, contacted some prison workers to turn off the camera or take them off suicide watch. It'd be very easy. Our system is so corrupt, and Jeffrey Epstein had so much information on very, very high-profile politicians connected to intelligence agencies. So, and that's obvious to people. This informant, okay, so I already went through that. He revealed the height from the, okay. The man said that when an inmate's on suicide watch, he's dressed in a white smock, basically a straitjacket, because guards know a person can be injurious to himself. And why he wasn't on suicide watch, I think everybody's asking that question, like who did that, who was able to take him off a suicide watch when just like a couple weeks earlier he tried to commit suicide. I mean, that's corruption right there. That tells you that it was on. They took him off a suicide watch because somebody was either going to go in and physically kill him, or what I think, and it is a theory, I can't prove it, but we know that these neuro weapons, we know directed energy weapons can shut somebody's heart off in a second. Or if they were, if they were hooked into with neuro weapons, like if he was hooked into neuro weapons for a while, they could have been incapacitating him in his mind and incapacitating him in his body, maybe so that somebody could come in and kill him, or it just, made him choke so that they had to actually rush him to the hospital. He was found unconscious in a cell. I don't know if he was found dead, but then they declared him dead at the hospital. So imagine this is just take this theory for instance. So he's being hit with neuro weapons, or maybe a directed energy weapon to the chest. It incapacitates him. He's not breathing. He's knocked unconscious. They come into the cell. They take him out. They wheel him out, and then on the way to the hospital, he's injected with something that kills him all the way. I mean, we have to ask the question, right? And I know that I know by a lot of people who are not targeted individuals that don't understand the extent of how much these weapons are used. They'll just be like, "Oh man, we knew these crazy conspiracy theories are going to come out," which is super frustrating, because it's very frustrating because there's a lot of truthers or people looking for the truth, but they're like this layer, and the layers go way up, like even past like satanic ritual and corruption and intelligence agencies killing people. It goes way past. It goes into experimentation on citizens all around the world, by contractors and subcontractors in the DoD. And then, like, if I have a private contractor under the DoD who's tortured me, which I'm finding some ways for defense, but still it's not perfect, right? Then the CIA and the Mossad are going to have very, very powerful weapons that can kill somebody in the snap of a finger. The Pentagon's going to have those weapons. The CIA's going to have those weapons. Mossad's going to have those weapons. Black Cube, which is, basically just ex-Israeli, it's basically Israeli military doing military operations for clients on U.S. soil. So, could Black Cube be involved? So, I don't know, guys. Like, I don't know exactly what happened, but I thought I had to kind of throw my hat in the ring here, because I don't hear anybody talking about neurotechnology and these weapons that are just proliferated all over the world. And then there's all these mysteries, right? He was in a cell. He didn't have anything to hang himself with. Apparently he didn't have anything, to hang himself with, because they didn't give him anything. Apparently there's not a camera in there, which I'm going to read an article. I'm going to read both of the articles about the Twitter post that was sent out, and then another one saying that there was no camera, there's only a camera to the outside. But most of these articles that I'm reading are saying more information is needed. So was there a camera in the cell, or wasn't there a camera in the cell? Like, I can't even, like, I've researched and I can't even get a clear answer. Some people are like, oh, they shut the camera off, and that was a rumor based off of Twitter. And then the only other information I can find is that there was no camera in the cell at all, or the camera wasn't able to capture what happened. Like, there was a camera in there, but it wasn't able to catch what happened. So it's very, very murky whether or not there was a camera, and whether it shut off at the time that he suicided himself, which didn't happen. He was murdered. So that's a fact. The fact is he was murdered. It's just how and who, And so I wanted to throw the, a theory. It has to be a theory. I'm pretty confident that there were, directed energy weapons and neuro weapons involved in this, because it would have been a very easy way to get to him from intelligence agencies that have very powerful weaponry to do this stuff. And if he was a liability to them, they would have taken him out. I think a lot of people maybe are on the theory that the Clinton political machine connected with intelligence agencies, like paid off some people to shut off the camera and then kill him. But with the technology that's available worldwide, and especially for America's intelligence agency, especially for the Mossad too, it's not unlikely that it's very, very possible that these weapons were used to take him out. Because I mean, if you got to think about it, logically. It's like, why would they take the chance of getting a guard to kill him, or give him materials which could be traced as evidence, right? It could be covered up, but there would be still evidence there, when they can use technology that's untraceable, because people don't accept that it's being so widely used, right? So once again, here I sit, right? Y'all know what I'm going to throw in there, and what needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about in these mass shootings. It needs to be talked about in the death of Jeffrey Epstein. It needs to be talked about when Julian Assange is like losing his mind in prison. These things need to be talked about, especially when Jeffrey Epstein would have been targeted by these agencies that he was associated with, to blackmail politicians so that they would do the bidding of these intelligence agencies. Another thing that I think about that I do want to kind of throw in, now this is a possibility, but people are saying that Epstein, was not suicidal, but you got to think, he was in these cults, right? He was in satanic cults, like they, raped kids and probably killed kids too. There's some evidence of crap like that going on his island. Now with these cults, I think they make pacts with each other, and if they're gonna somehow bring to light what their evil brothers and sisters are doing in that cult, they would be like obligated on a cult level to kill themselves. So that's another theory that I do want. Those two theories, that neuro weapons or directed energy weapons. And why I say neuro weapons or directed energy weapons is, I actually think that probably neuro weapons were being used, and they were putting him in an incapacitated state so that they could do something else, like a directed energy stream to the heart. But it could just be that. It could just be like they were hitting him with directed energy weapons in the chest, in the throat, to kill him. Because how powerful, these weapons are, way more powerful, than I'm seeing, or some targeted individuals are seeing, right? They have this protocol of experimentation. They can push us to the point where we feel like we're dying, but in actuality, if they want to, like if the CIA has these integrated weapon systems, they can push it up to kill somebody instantly, to shoot into their heart and kill them instantly. And it needs to be talked about. I'm kind of at the point where it's like, people are just going to say I'm just throwing out a conspiracy theory. These weapons need to be talked about, and they especially need to be talked about whenever there's intelligence agencies that are suspected of corrupt activity, or people just dying suspiciously like this. There's ways for people to die suspiciously where doctors can look at them and not know what they're looking for. That's a fact. I mean, that is a fact. So I definitely just wanted to throw it in there. However, I can't say I know that this absolutely happened, positively, absolutely, 100%, here's the proof. But I do want people to think about that. And I think a lot of targeted individuals probably are, because we know the capabilities of these weapons, and, it's kind of a common sense thing. It's like, why would you pay off a guard or have all these people that could maybe find out about it and somebody squeals, right, when you can just shoot somebody in the heart, or you can just hook into somebody with neuro weapons and then, close up their throat or stop their heart that way. You know, let me read a little bit more of this, guys. And I want y'all to know, like, I'm working on getting, for Zoom, you've got to like pay a fee to hook it into YouTube. And I don't know if there's screen sharing with that yet, but I'm working on that to do live streams. But I really wanted to read these articles, so I didn't want to do a live stream and just have my webcam on. Okay, so he ruled out the notion Epstein hung himself while standing on his bed. Hold on, my throat is getting dry. BTW, the hearing aids are working really well. It's like last night I didn't even use Dave Case's CD, and there's so much relief from the remote neural manipulation pain and the high-pitched sound and the V2K. My attackers did turn up everything a couple of times, but then it seems to be attenuating it. Like it'll last for like a couple of minutes, but then it attenuates down again. The only thing is, and nothing's perfect, it's bothering my ears. Like it's messing with my sinuses, and pushing in earwax. It's uncomfortable to wear them all the time. And right now as I talk, it's reverberating back into my ear, and so it's like that's why I'm kind of stumbling on my words. So it's something I'll have to get used to. But you guys, it definitely works. But it's just like I don't think you're supposed to wear hearing aids all the time. And because it works so well, I want to wear it all the time, right? And so it's like kind of irritating my ears and kind of making me a little bit irritated. But then the remote neural manipulation attacks and the high-pitched sound and the V2K are like way down. So I'm like, I don't want to take them out. I don't ever want to take them out unless I'm like taking a bath or something like that. So it's a little bit annoying on the earwax and ear irritation, Okay, so I just have a little bit more, guys. I just wanted to go through a couple of articles. So he ruled out the notion Epstein hung himself while standing on his bed. No, sir, there's a steel frame, but you can't move it. There's no light fixture. There's no bars. He also claimed there isn't enough stuff inside a cell that can successfully create an instrument of death. You want to write a letter, they give you rubber pens and maybe once a week a piece of paper. Nothing hand or made of metal. He said he didn't believe Epstein had a cellmate. He was too blown up. So it was too big of a risk, right, to have an inmate. The psychological damage a prison of this type can inflict on the minds of inmates is immense. It's like you're an animal and you've been brought into a kennel. A guy like Jeffrey, it's like holy shit. I told my parents not to come there. God wasn't in the building. I'm sure God was not in that building. Some of the biggest criminals in the world. And I'd like to add, this may seem, I don't know, it may seem jaded or whatever, but good riddance. Good riddance to Jeffrey Epstein and those like him. Being somebody who's affected by the actions of evil men. Good riddance, but yeah, we would have liked to have found more information out about, like, all the people that he hurt, and more information about his ties to intelligence agencies and politicians. That's a loss. So it would have been better if he stayed alive to do that. Some of the civil filings for monetary recompense, I can't think of a good word, so I said recompense, but the civil trials are going to still go through on his estate, but the criminal trial is closed unless the lawyer can work some magic and try and pull some more people into it. Hopefully they'll do that, but I do just want to say good riddance to this devil, good riddance to this piece of absolute trash. He deserved what he got. You make a deal with the devil and the devil's going to come calling. And nobody had loyalty to this guy. Nobody had loyalty. They did all this stuff and he blackmailed and deceived people and hurt young kids, maybe killed kids and sacrifices. Good riddance. Good riddance to this trash. We need more of this trash gone. But first the public needs to get this information. So it's sad that he died because we could have gotten more information about what was going on, right? And that's exactly why he died, so we wouldn't get information about his ties to the intelligence agencies or high up politicians. But evil needs to go down. Like I guess let me just read some more. I'm trying not to get jaded or frustrated, but people are just so corrupt now, and they're just murdering all the time, hurting children. People need to stand up. Everybody, not just targeted individuals, not just people who have tyranny in their lives. Even if you feel free and you're a good person, you need to know that people like kids are being killed and raped. Kids are being experimented on. Innocent men, women, and children are being experimented on and tortured. And it's time to stand up against this stuff. The people higher up, these the rich elite or whatever, they're gonna keep doing it. They're gonna keep doing it as long as they can get away with it. And my mom once told me, he who makes the gold makes the rules. And that's what's happening. Like, we have a lot of evil people that have all the resources, so they can kind of get good people to shut their mouths and go along, and they can get bad people to actually help them to murder and do all this crap. And he who makes the gold makes the rules. So, if we've got to get more resources, we've got to get more resources. Good people have to get resources. We've got to figure out a way to stop this evil. I'm kind of coming to a point in my own situation. This is very hard physically and mentally, and I don't know what's going to happen, guys. I mean, I think there's a lot of hope, but my thing is, like, I've got to trust in God. It's so complicated and so messed up, and so many good people are doing bad because the bad people have the resources, and they can trick good people into doing evil just to get by today, just to sell their children's future tomorrow to put food on the table today, right? That's a human instinct. You want to take care of your family today. You want to take care of those you love today, but you sell their future because you can't look ahead enough to see that there's going to be rape gangs in the future and torture gangs and murderers and Satanists everywhere. So it's like surviving today can sometimes doom the future, right? And I think that people need to change. Like, we need to, in some respects, disregard that part of our human nature that says, as long as I'm okay right now, everything's fine. And I'll go along with evil people to make sure I eat today. We've got to think past that. We've got to think about what we're leaving our children, our nieces, our nephews. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. God does. God does, and he pushes me along, but this is ultimate evil. This ultimate evil man who was getting blackmail on politicians and working for these intelligence agencies that are supposed to protect us. They're supposed to protect us, but they're blackmailing politicians so that politicians will help them to do more evil stuff. And then this pile of trash, he got what was coming to him. You work with devils, you're gonna get stabbed in the back. Nobody's gonna have loyalty. Nobody's gonna have any loyalty for you. I don't know. I hope I'm not being too jaded there, but it's too much. This is too much. I was like, I don't even want to make a video about this. It's too dark. I want to just put out hope, and pray and stuff like that, and really just trust in God, because as just a single man here, I see a lot of hope, but I see that he who makes the gold makes the rules, and a lot of evil people have the gold. And they have more than gold. They have technologies and things like that can control people. So we need God. We need miracles. I mean, that's just bottom line, factual, So more disturbingly, the man said, if the guards see that a guy is breaking, they're going to help you break. But it's my firm belief that Jeffrey Epstein did not commit suicide. It just didn't happen, right? So he's saying if the guards see a guy is breaking, they're going to help him break. They're going to hurt him more, right? They're going to take advantage of that. And that's why I think even if neuro weapons did not kill him, maybe they were used to incapacitate him, to weaken his mental state and everything like that, so that somebody could do that, so that somebody could finish the job, right? Either in his jail cell or on the way to the hospital. And a lot of people are saying that there were pictures of him on the cart, and it doesn't look like it was Jeffrey Epstein's body. I think right now that he's dead. That's from my research and everything. That's what I think. I think he is dead. Um, so Epstein's suspicious suicide also resonated with Attorney General William Barr. Yeah, I was appalled to learn that Jeffrey Epstein was found dead early this morning from an apparent suicide while in federal custody. Mr. Epstein's death raises serious questions that must be answered, said Barr. In addition to the FBI's investigation, I have consulted with the Inspector General, who is opening an investigation into the circumstances of Mr. Epstein's death. Barr became livid at the news of Epstein's death and is determined to get to the bottom of what happened. The FBI is going to figure it out. The FBI is going to cover it up. Has the FBI helped us at all as targeted individuals finding any of these? No, they're involved. I mean, they're involved in corruption. So, I don't know if that's controversial to say anymore, because we have to try and trust somebody, right? But they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. The FBI agent laughed at me about my targeting and goes, "Oh, directed energy weapons? Don't they have those in New Mexico?" And then he's just chuckling, just laughing. "Why don't you contact your local sheriff's department? I think they have some devices that could maybe track this down." But the sheriff's department's involved in it too, right? This is what we get when everything becomes corrupted. Epstein's dubious death. I'm sorry, guys. I guess I'm in a bad mood. I'm feeling better physically, but I'm a little bit irritated. I'm a little bit irritated, so I apologize, guys. I'm gonna pick myself up and get more light. It's hard sometimes. It's like all this darkness. Like even if you're a good person, all the darkness and just fighting and people not trusting each other and everything. It gets to you. It really gets to you. I think it gets to everybody. Epstein's dubious death came only days after the release of yet more documents outlining the extent of his sex crimes. Documents from a 2015 defamation case unsealed Friday claim Epstein and his alleged trafficking assistant. An autopsy on Epstein was performed August 11th but couldn't conclusively determine the cause of death. An autopsy of Epstein was performed August 11th but couldn't conclusively determine the cause of death. The cause of death, however, is still presumed to be suicide. Well, so if he hung himself and he had stuff around his neck, that would be very easy, right? This is a death by hanging, right? So that actually lends more credence to me saying, hey, we need to think about neuro weapons being used or directed energy weapon to the heart, which the CIA would have very powerful weapons, and if they wanted to kill him, that would be the operation. It would be using integrated directed energy weapon systems operationally, not experimentally, not trying to collect data or trying to see what somebody can do or see how they can control their mind, but trying to off them, right? And so these weapons can definitely do that if they want them to, I didn't see that. Like, I didn't read the whole article. So an autopsy on Epstein was performed August 11th, but couldn't conclusively determine the cause of death. I would think that if somebody hung themselves, that would be pretty easy to figure out in an autopsy, because they're going to look at the throat, they're going to see that the windpipe was constructed, and that led to the cause of death, right? So yeah. So I mean, we need to. So yes, like, throw my hat in the ring here, and all you targeted individuals probably have thought about this. We need to factor in remote directed energy weapon systems, remote neuro weapons. When intelligence agencies want somebody gone, and very rich politicians want somebody gone, and there's neurotechnology that can shut somebody's body down or incapacitate them so that it can kill them, then we need to factor that in logically, right? Okay, so he was placed on suicide watch after unsuccessfully trying to commit suicide 3 weeks earlier, and I think there were marks around his neck that time, and then he was talking about somebody trying to kill him, right? But then this time, they don't know the cause of death. So if somebody tried to strangle him, or he hung himself, there would be an instant like, oh yeah, it's strangling, right? Epstein was taken off the suicide watch list 12 days before his suicide, arousing further suspicion as to why. He was on suicide watch only for 6 days. He was taken off the suicide watch list 12 days before his suicide. Is that, when he was taken off the suicide watch, does that mean they took a camera out of his room, maybe? Because they were thinking about maybe, incapacitating him, or choking him, or hitting him in the heart with directed energy weapons, and that would look pretty weird on camera, and then there would be more questions about that, right? I don't know. It's a theory. Like, it's definitely a theory, but we need to say, oh, what could have happened, right? Well, the CIA and the Mossad have these neuro weapons. They have these directed energy weapons that can kill or incapacitate people. They can definitely kill them. They can definitely incapacitate them, and mysterious death, and no cause of death from the autopsy, and the camera didn't catch it, and Jeffrey Epstein said somebody was trying to kill him, and a lot of people said there's no way he would have committed suicide, right? He's a sociopath. I think he was a psychopath. I think he killed kids. I don't think he just raped kids. I think he killed kids in satanic rituals. I can't prove that. It's a theory. It's a pretty good theory. It's a pretty good theory, though, right? Because he was on suicide watch, Epstein was supposed to have been checked on by FBP guards every 30 minutes. This apparently wasn't done in Epstein's case. What? And I'm sure a lot of you guys have already read some of the details of this story. Because he was on suicide watch, Epstein was supposed to have been checked on by FBP guards every 30 minutes. This apparently wasn't done in Epstein's case, leading to a wave of online conspiracy theories about his death. Why would there not be online conspiracy theories about his death? When people get together for lunch and decide to pay the tab, that's a conspiracy. When Jeffrey Epstein, who has worked for intelligence agencies running blackmail on high-level politicians, is killed mysteriously, there's a conspiracy afoot, and there's no cause of death from the I hate it's like these people in the mainstream media patronize people, and they're like, oh, there's going to be all kinds of conspiracy theories. Hey, it was a completely mysterious death. Conspiracy theorists. Oh yeah, I watched a video by Stefan Molyneux, and he was saying how people who said Jeffrey Epstein is not getting out of that jail alive, they were called conspiracy theorists. Oh, there's all these conspiracy theorists about Jeffrey Epstein, that he's going to be killed in jail. Oh, those crazy conspiracy theorists. Always right, and then when they're proven to be right, then they're no longer called conspiracy theorists. But up until the point where there's there's hard evidence anyway, but up to the point where the public accepts it, right, they're called conspiracy theorists. That's what I see. A conspiracy theorist is somebody who figures out the truth before everyone else, and then when the public accepts it, then it's like, oh, they were right, those conspiracy theorists were right, and they're no longer conspiracy theorists. So it's just calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is a way for the military-industrial complex and corrupt people to buy time to keep doing corruption. That's how I see conspiracy, the definition of conspiracy theorists, right? Okay, so I want to read a little bit more of this article. President Donald. Okay, it's almost done. President Donald Trump weighed in on the issue, retweeting a tweet that falsely claimed former President Bill Clinton had something to do with Epstein's death. And I think a lot of people think that. A lot of people think that the Clinton political machine, did this, which can't rule it out. Definitely can't rule it out. I just want to. I don't know exactly what happened, but I do want to throw in that neuroweapons, remote neuroweapons, especially by the Mossad, especially the Mossad and the CIA, have remote directed energy weapons. And they can hook into people's brains and their nervous system and shut them off, kill them. Or they can shoot a directed energy weapon into somebody's chest. These things are being used and proliferating all over the world and just being experimented on regular citizens who feel like they're about to die, and some of them do. A lot of targeted individuals have died from like heart attacks, from aneurysms in the brain and stuff like that, where when the attacker's doing it may not have even meant to do it, right? So if they mean to do it, think about the damage they can cause and think about how quickly they could kill somebody. Okay, let me go to another article, guys. So I just want to throw it in, and it has to be a theory. I have to say it's a theory. I can't say, oh, I'm 100% sure. So let's read this. Jeffrey Epstein, camera malfunction. What is that? Let me get my fat face out. Jeffrey Epstein, camera malfunction, no proof for rumor, but other questions remain. So this article says that tweet, so rumors have been circulating ever since Jeffrey Epstein was found dead, that cameras at the prison malfunctioned the night of his death. However, at this point it's not known if there were any cameras recording Epstein, and if there were, whether they were working or recorded footage. The person who started the camera malfunction rumor didn't provide sources at the time to verify his tweet. However, there are plenty of other questions surrounding Epstein's death that have led some officials to call for a deeper investigation. Read on to learn more about the rumor and how it got started, along with questions that have led officials to seek an investigation into Epstein's death. The camera malfunction rumor started with a tweet that did not cite proof or sources. Michael Kodry seems to have started the camera malfunction rumor on Twitter. He wrote, "Breaking, alleged camera malfunction last night at MCC where Jeffrey Epstein was locked up." Kodry has a blue check next to his name on Twitter, so his account has been verified as authentic. He is not a bot. So this is Michael Kodry's tweet. Breaking, alleged camera malfunction last night at MCC where Jeffrey Epstein was locked up. Kodry did not provide proof to his tweet or any sources to verify why he wrote about the camera malfunction on Twitter. He posted later on Facebook that reporters should be demanding the release of the camera footage. He wrote, "Reporters should be demanding the release of the camera footage. How this individual committed suicide." I want to hang the air quotes for a long time. While on suicide watch and being monitored in prison is outrageous, and it is outrageous. And even the mainstream news is saying apparent suicide, right? They won't even go with that story. And I've seen a lot of other videos. I'm forgetting where I watched Stefan Molyneux and then Pockets of the Future. I really like Pockets of the Future. I like Paul Romano. I like him a lot. And so I watched some of those, and then I've read some articles on it. It's just, the mainstream media is saying apparent suicide. They won't even go along with the suicide story, because I think even with the corruption within the FBI, there's too many people who are going to be looking into it for them to completely lie and just say, oh yeah, it's a suicide, it's over, and then even the autopsy is saying we don't know how he died, right? Which is super red flag. That is a super red flag for him being murdered by neuroweapons, by remote neural manipulation that maybe shut down his heart or choked him, could close the trachea, can close the trachea up. If they send signals to the brain that work on the autonomic nervous system, you can choke to death, or hit with directed energy weapons straight in the chest to shut the heart off, or shut the heart off, or give him a heart attack through remote neural manipulation, right? There's a couple of ways they could do it. Very, very telling that the autopsy report says we don't know, because if it was a hanging, it would be hanging. It's easy. He had marks around his neck. He was choked to death. He committed suicide. He hung himself. Easy 1, 2, 3. For somebody who does autopsies all the time on murders and stuff like that. So very, very, very suspicious, and it does. And so I need to make this video and say, were neuro weapons or directed energy weapons used in the death of Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know what I'm going to call the video, but y'all know what I mean. So his post included a reference to his mention earlier about a camera malfunction. Yeah, so that's what the article said above. Let's see. Kodri is listed on Twitter as being an entrepreneur, CEO of Yuko Social, and the co-founder of New Right US. Yuko Social is a company that helps people optimize their social media presence, according to the website. The site says Yuko Social is a team of millennial social media experts here to help with all your social media needs. Our team of specialists work to drive traffic, increase engagement, and develop your brand's online presence. And that's kind of telling too, because we know with YouTube and Twitter and things like that, people are, trying to get that good title to pull people in. They want that big story, that clickbait, and it's become more of just bringing stuff to the edge of where things are maybe it's blown out of proportion. The clickbait is a lie. It's kind of gone past that, right? And I try to come up with good titles, and I do want to, I don't know, I just want to get information out, really, and that's my bottom line. So it helps me to not go insane with YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. I have to go back to my bottom line. But it can really affect people who want to be successful and make money and be popular on these social media platforms. And they can say like, oh, I heard this rumor, and then they just start spreading that rumor, right? A lot of true information, a lot of unverified, blown out of proportion. Some people would say me even, but I'm saying it's a theory. I don't know, but it has to be looked into. These weapons have to be looked into. They're being used so much. They're just being used on normal people 24 hours a day. When there's somebody as high profile as Jeffrey Epstein, and intelligence agencies are going after him, and they have access to neurotechnology, remote neurotechnology, and directed energy weapons that can stop people's hearts. The Pentagon's they're putting articles about how the Pentagon's saying, yeah, they have a laser that you can stop somebody's heart, right? So I don't, it's very hard when you're talking about stuff that you're talking about stuff that's hidden in society and that the public doesn't want to know about, and only a few people know. You can be I'm probably considered one of those people that's like, oh, he's just fanning the flames of conspiracy theory or whatever. But it needs to be looked into logically, because I'm sitting here being hit with directed energy weapons, and Jeffrey Epstein was this high profile Satanist and pedophile who actually the intelligence agencies want it gone. I'm just average Joe Schmo being attacked by neuroweapons directed. A lot of you guys who are watching this video are targeted individuals like this, and this guy, the intelligence agencies and politicians in high places wanted him gone. They wanted him silenced, So, I've got to throw it in there. but it is a theory. I have to say it's a theory. I don't know what happened, but that autopsy is kind of a huge red flag, and it kind of goes along with what I'm thinking happened, So let's go to the next article, guys. I'll kind of wrap this up. So this is from the Mirror, and I'm going to put all these in the description, all these articles, so you guys can take a look at them. Jeffrey Epstein had no cameras in his cell to catch a moment he hanged himself. So why would he not have a camera in his cell if he was on suicide watch? But they took him off of suicide watch, so I guess then they could take the camera out. I've heard that he had no camera in his cell. I've heard they shut off the camera, from that tweet from the last article. And then I heard that he had a camera in his cell, but it didn't quite catch what happened. It didn't quite catch what happened. My attackers are slowing everything down, so I hope it won't. It probably won't look like that when I put out the video. They're just hacking into my computer. They're hacking into my computer and doing a lot more of those things around me. They broke another one of my electronic cigarettes through the refrigerator as it was charging because they're not hurting me physically as much. So they're trying to get my attention in other ways. And insanity, guys. so insane. This is so insane. All this stuff is so insane. Like, I'm trying to keep it together. I feel better physically and mentally. Yeah, some good stuff's going on in my life. So I didn't even want to touch this story or put a video out about it. But I feel like I have to say there's this huge mystery of Jeffrey Epstein. Like, how did he die? Who killed him? The autopsy report says they don't know how he's. So I have to throw it in there that the CIA and the Mossad would have access to remote neuro weapons and directed energy weapons, to kill him pretty quickly or to incapacitate him so somebody else could. They could be involved or they could be the number one reason that killed him. So Jeffrey Epstein had no cameras in his cell to catch the moment he hanged himself. Yeah, my attackers have completely hacked into my computer and they make it drag. They make everything drag, so my camera right now is picking up really slowly. I'm going, like, to myself, I look like all choppy. And it's just a constant murder and annoyance and harassment, and they're like, ha ha ha, nobody will know about this. Nobody's going to believe you. My attackers tell me on B2K, especially if you tell the truth, nobody's going to believe you. If you are right about this stuff, if you're like, when you're right on the money, people believe you less. That's what they tell me on my B2K. I'm starting to believe them. I'm really starting to fucking believe them. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay, so Jeffrey Epstein had no cameras in his cell to catch a moment he hanged himself. The pedophile billionaire's cause and manner of death are still pending after an autopsy concluded that more information is needed. So Jeffrey Epstein's cause of death is still pending despite an autopsy being completed. Man, why wouldn't the autopsy, if it was such a simple thing as he hanged himself in a cell, or hung himself in a cell, I don't see, I don't see why they wouldn't have found out. So as it was revealed, cameras didn't capture the moment he apparently hanged himself. So he did have a camera in his cell? Let's see. New York City's chief medical examiner said the determination is still pending the day after the pedophile billionaire was found in his cell. It comes as the New York Post claimed a source said there was no surveillance footage for the moment the former financier died. So to me, that means that the cameras did malfunction. It means that there were cameras in a cell. There were cameras in a cell, but there's no surveillance footage of the moment he died. So that means that the cameras did malfunction, or it means they don't have that surveillance footage. They have all the other surveillance footage. So that it seems like that tweet is right. Seems like that tweet is right on the money. That even if the cameras didn't malfunction, there was a camera in there and it just didn't catch what happened. So that means that somebody messed with the camera footage. Definitely. According to the paper, cameras are focused on the areas outside cells at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, but not outside. According to the paper, cameras are focused on the areas outside the cell, so there was no camera. I still am unsure. Like, reading these articles, I'm still unsure if there was a camera in his effing cell. So I have no idea. I've read these articles, and I don't know if there was a camera in his cell or not. Maybe that's the whole purpose of having these competing articles that's like, oh yeah, this is not true, the cameras didn't malfunction. Oh, but the cameras didn't catch what was going on in his cell. I don't think anybody knows. I think there's like everybody's saying one thing or the other, but nobody's why hasn't any mainstream media news outlet just asked the people who work at the prison, was there a camera in his cell? Was there a camera in his cell? Did it shut off? Hopefully we'll find out more about that. I'm getting really angry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to wrap this up because my attackers are just freezing up my computer, and all right. Yeah, getting really angry. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Chief Medical Examiner Barbara Sampson said in the statement, the medical examiner's determination is pending further information at this time. Okay, so they did an autopsy, but they couldn't find a cause of death. But then they say apparent suicide. And if he hung himself, it would be very, very simple. It'd be very, very simple. The autopsy would find something very, very simple. So there has to be something, poison maybe. You know, I think some people may theorize poison. I theorize something else. I theorize, you know, directed energy weapons. But poison is a likely possibility too. At the request of those representing the decedent, and with the awareness of the federal prosecutor, I allowed a private pathologist, Dr. Michael Bodden, to observe the autopsy examination. This is routine practice. It was revealed previously how Epstein had been placed on suicide watch after he was found with injuries to his neck on July 23rd. So, I mean, he had injuries on his neck before. However, he had recently been taken off in a decision that has reportedly baffled former wardens. A source told Reuters that 2 jail guards are required to make separate checks on all prisoners every 30 minutes. However, that procedure was not followed in the hours before Epstein was found in his cell. A prison official told the New York Times one of the guards was working for his 5th straight day of overtime, while the second corrections officer had been forced to work overtime as well. Other sources told the Daily Mail that Epstein had told prison guards and fellow inmates that he believed someone had tried to kill him. Yeah. The insider also claimed he seemed to be in good spirits. So, I mean, you know, probably a lot of things were going on. There's probably a lot of moving parts. You know, they were probably keeping guards on overtime so that they'd be tired and maybe wouldn't remember the details of what was going on at the time. But, you know, I just want to throw in that it is a very, very huge possibility, and it is theory. I just want to say it is theory. But, you know, neuro weapons, directed energy weapons do exist. It's the CIA, which has ties to the Mossad, and then both of these intelligence agencies have ties to Epstein and wanted him gone. You know, they'd easily be able to use these weapons to take him out, or to incapacitate him so that on the way to the hospital they could finish the job. So I just want to throw that in there. I'm going to go ahead and close it out, guys. My attackers are just heavily hacking my computer and my webcam. It just gets really annoying. I don't know, for some reason it's like when I make these videos, it makes me more comfortable to see myself in real time on the webcam, so I kind of can see where I'm at, and you know, and so they're freezing it up, and it's like 5 seconds back. Anyway, alright guys, so I just wanted to kind of, that's going to be my only video about Jeffrey Epstein, unless some huge information comes out, like some more really big time information comes out. But I hope this video finds all of you guys well. You know, I'm doing pretty well. I would really suggest these hearing aids, and I'm going to get more information from Dr. Hoffer. Still, I'm a little bit tired, and it's tired in a good way sometimes. But then I think I've got to get used to having them in my ears, because it's irritating my ears and stuff like that, making me a little bit cranky right now. But I'm fine. So guys, I hope y'all are doing well. Y'all stay strong. Live long and prosper. And let's really, you know, get that connection to God. Like, I hate reporting this kind of stuff because I really want to keep us on the positive, but I feel like it's important when you know, with these stories, if everybody's saying kind of what I think, you know, and I don't really have anything to add, I've kind of come to the point where I'm like, I may not make a video about that, right? You know, if Stefan Molyneux and Pockets of the Future and, you know, some people on YouTube are kind of saying things that, you know, that I don't need to add anything else in there, I kind of want to, you know, stay on the brighter side because of how hard the targeting is for all of us individually. But I don't know, once in a while, when I don't hear these things being said, I don't hear anybody saying, well, you know, the Pentagon has, well, the CIA and the Mossad have neuro weapons, they have directed energy weapons that can stop somebody's heart, when we're not saying that about a suspicious death. These technologies are being used all over the world on citizens in operational form from intelligence agencies, and so the question needs to be asked. It needs to be brought up. Like, I'm not saying 100% that's what happened, but it needs to be brought up so that people can be thinking about it, because I don't see any people that are like searching for the truth hardcore. It seems like if they're not targeted individuals, and even some that are targeted individuals, they try and stay at that level of, okay, people kind of believe in this, the majority of people looking for the truth, they believe in this, and I don't really want to go past that because I don't want people to think I'm crazy. But there comes a time when things are so evil and people are being hurt so badly that we just have to tell the truth. And that's it. And that's it. And then let the chips fall where they may. Let the chips fall where they may. Let people talk and do whatever. But just say what's on our mind and just tell the truth. And just bring up things that are vitally important to the survival of the human race. Okay. I'm gonna cheer up a little bit. I'm a little bit I don't know, I'm a little bit cranky or something. I don't know, but I'm feeling better. I'm feeling generally better overall. Maybe it's like my brain trying to kind of, I did want to add this in. I do think it's kind of my brain trying to compensate for kind of stopping some of this stuff, because I think what Brian too says is very true. This bidirectional stream of energy, or even if it's remote neural manipulation through the vestibular system, I think that our brain and our nervous system becomes dependent on it. So even when you have positive, it's like I don't know how to explain that. Maybe Brian could explain it better. But our nervous system and our brain becomes dependent on that stream of energy. So it's like when I've disconnected a little bit, it's like I'm trying to kind of decompress, and my brain's trying to get used to this level of of actually cutting off some of that entrainment, right? So my brain's trying to kind of get used to that different state that I'm in, right? Like the bidirectional stream of energy not having as much control, my brain and my nervous system not being so dependent on that, because years and years and years and years you become dependent on that, so they can raise you up, they can give you energy, your attackers can give you, or they can drop you way down, like Brian too says, and he's very correct about that. I think he's very correct about our body becoming dependent to this bidirectional stream of energy. So I just wanted to throw that in. But I love you guys. I hope this video finds you well, and live long and prosper. I'll definitely see you guys on the next one. I love y'all. Probably the next one, and this is freezing up. It's freezing up just when I want to shut it off. But probably my next, I'll do a live stream, and I just want to. I'll probably go through some more positive prayers and stuff like that. And just in chat with you guys, maybe talk about some other defensive stuff. I don't know. I gotta get all that set up for my live streaming capabilities, and it's gonna cost money. It's gonna cost money, which I don't have. So resources are a problem. So, but I'll just work through it. Just work through it and do my best. Put out information when I can. And I hope you guys are doing that too. I hope check out Next Level. We did a live stream on Saturday night. It's We the People Volume 3. And I was very, very glad to go on there. I think it's a great idea. Messenger of the Cross, who was in the chat room, could just come in on Zoom and was talking in the chat, and it was like, just everybody on there is great. Earl, Cyber, Laura, Gma Love. I hope I'm not missing anybody. There are a lot of people. On there, but I think it's a great idea. I think Nex is doing a great job. We did have a lot of dislikes on it, which I don't know. I guess maybe me and I kind of was talking crap about Jeremiah Cohen. Maybe it was that. I don't know. His other We the Peoples didn't get that many dislikes, but this one got a lot of dislikes, and I was like, what's going on there? I don't know. In a 4-hour live stream, when you're just kind of talking off the cuff about this stuff with a lot of people, you're probably going to say something that maybe offends people. I don't know. targeted individuals got to keep that in mind. It's like a lot of the people who go on live streams and talk about this stuff, they're also being targeted, and you got a lot of time where you're kind of just talking off the top of your head. You may say something that may be a little bit incorrect or maybe controversial or something like that because you're just being honest, right? So I don't know. I guess like my big thing, my bottom line is to not worry about that. Is to just just put out the information, just tell the truth, just keep pushing forward with telling people about targeted individuals, telling people about these weapons and how they're being used in society, and then just kind of like, I mean, if people don't like it or don't like a sentence that you said in a 4-hour live stream, just let it go. But as a human being, it's like, ooh, what did people dislike about that? It was a bunch of targeted individuals just chatting. And there was a lot of likes too, right? So I think it's just part of human nature that I'm like, why, his other We the People didn't get any dislikes. I don't know, but y'all definitely check that out. Check out his channel, and great job next in getting people on there to talk about those forums. I want to do something like that eventually when I get my stuff set up, and see where my energy levels are to do it. Because I'll be honest, I get tired of talking about this. So I'll be really honest. It's so many years of talking about targeted individuals and talking about what our attackers do to us and all this stuff. And so I've started to try and do more positive things and just talk about defense and talk about solutions. But it's like we're always going to have to talk about what they're doing to us and how much it hurts and stuff like that. And it gets exhausting, right? Like it gets exhausting. It gets very exhausting. But definitely check that out, guys. I love y'all. For the third time, live long and prosper. Love you guys. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Y'all take care. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope you're getting some healing, some hope, some positivity, some rest, some fun, some joy. All those good things in life. And I hope that the bad stuff from these attacks and from the targeting are being reduced. And if they're not, if you're in a bad space, just really pray, and I'll be praying for you too, and all other targeted individuals will be praying for you. Hang in there, because a lot of hopeful things are coming up. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. I don't even know if it's ending because my attackers have like locked up my computer.